Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 59th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by my fellow Hans Zimmer appreciator, Jaden.
G'day.
I got it right this week. And PCA's number one fanboy, aka Fitzy, aka Liam.
Hello.
Not Sleepy Jeff this week. Thank you for that, by the
No,
way.
yeah.
It's kind of you. It's kind of you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and all the podcast apps. So please subscribe. You can visit ratethispodcast.com/cinema effect, I think, because I got an email the other day, something about how you need to renew it or something, and I definitely didn't do that. So if someone out there wants to try typing in ratethispodcast.com/cinema effect, see if it works, then you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and we'll read it out on the show. So please do that. Hopefully it works. If not, you can just go to iTunes, whatever. It's not that hard. As always, we'd love you to submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section. Or, of course, you can send us a DM on the Instagram. This week, we're asking you to coincide with our finale of Bourne reviews. By far the longest franchise we've done so far. It's an auspicious occasion. So we're asking you, what is your favourite Bourne movie of the 5? And if you don't know anything about, if you haven't seen a Bourne movie or not enough of one or whatever, you can write in about what your favourite review that we did of a Bourne movie was. If you can distinguish them, which would also be impressive if you can think back and go, oh yeah, I really liked the episode 51 they did, you know what I mean? Like, if it's not just all a blur to you. So let us know. This week we're reviewing Minority Report, which opened in the US on the 21st of June 2002. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. Ever heard of him? The genre is a sci-fi crime film. And the synopsis reads, in a future where a special police unit is able to arrest murderers before they commit their crimes, an officer from that unit is himself accused of a future murder. Fitzy, you rewatched Minority Report this week. How'd you find it this time?
Yeah, I think it's my third or fourth time watching it, actually. I've seen it a few times.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's really weird because I thought everything, like pretty much everything in the film was great, but by the end, or especially like after the end, I kind of felt that overall it's a good movie. That has like some great moments and great sequences and yeah, stuff like that. I think there's a lot to appreciate. But overall, I think it's just a good movie. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, there's a lot I love, and then I sort of struggle with how it comes together in some places. But what about you, Jaden?
A bit conflicted. I don't know. I think overall I kind of felt dissatisfied and bored for most of it. I just don't understand why they keep giving novels of one of the greatest sci-fi writers of all time to directors that just manage to make it flat and just sap the life out of it. I do think it was interesting though, and I think that just comes from the premise though. I don't think that really comes from anything added by the film format. So like in terms of praising it as a film, I'm not sure how much of that I can really do, but I do think it was decent, but like I think there was an overall unhappiness with it.
Did you feel that the first time?
This is my first time watching it.
Is it? Oh wow, forget. Oh, there you go. My apologies. I liked the movie. I've got issues with it. I'm all over the place. I feel like I'm pretty akin to Fitzy here. Like, I do think it's a good movie, but there's a lot to break down, I think, for me. So, Jane, I want to know, what was your trajectory with the film interest-wise, if that makes sense? So, like, how engaged were you act to act if you were left dissatisfied by the end? Because I got to say, like, for me,
I was disengaged pretty much the entire time.
Really? So for me, like, the first act pulled me in right away. The beginning, I thought, the first 45 minutes, I totally loved. But yeah, how do you feel about that?
No, I don't think that I could say there's an extended portion of the film that I love. I think there's certain scenes that I think were better than others. I just think it's 'cause the film looked ugly as. I mean, like, it was made in 2002, but it feels like it was 1982. You know, it was so fucking, drained of color, and like, did it feel like there was like a really strong film grain on that as well? Because it wasn't a pleasant thing to view at times. I mean, like, it's just, there was never an extended sequence where I could just latch onto it. There was cool moments and an interesting plot point in a certain spot, but it never really carried over onto continuous scenes.
Right. I like that you brought up how it looked because I really liked how it looked, and I was thinking about this. It might be my favorite looking Spielberg movie. I don't know what else sort of.
Tintin,
Oh, that's a great shout too. Raiders of the Lost
Jurassic
Ark
Park.
looks awesome. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's up there for me though. I mean, there's a lot of choice, obviously, but thank you for bringing up the way it looks because I've only got one piece of trivia and I'll knock it out right now. All right, so the cinematographer for the movie, who I will fail to completely botch their name, Janusz Kaminski, did a bleach bypass of the film in order to create the desaturated silver tinted colours. So that's where a lot of that comes from. I dug it personally. Just everything looks washed out in a deliberate feeling way, as opposed to like there's a difference between going into Premiere and just putting the saturation down at -200. You know what I mean? But this feels, I don't know, this just feels right. And it's one of those things where I couldn't have told you when I was watching it, like, oh, I can see the cinematographer's done this technique here, but yeah, I looking back, I can sort of tell. You know what I mean? But did you like how it looked? How it looked, Fitzy? Yay or nay?
Yeah, I like how the film looks. It looks kind of kind of ugly in an intentional way, I guess.
Yeah, that's a way better way of putting what I was trying to say.
It kind of looks a bit like some parts of War of the Worlds as well. It's like very like light colors and like especially like there's like this one scene where the background where you see just the sky in the background is just all white, and that was kind of like that was like the start of War of the Worlds with like at Tom Cruise's house. But I don't know, it feels like it really it creates a good tone, and it mixes well with the futuristic elements, which I really like. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it works for the world, and I didn't know anything about this movie's premise. So when I launch into the first 2 minutes and I'm getting these balls popping out of the thing, and it's like they're predicting murders, I was like, "What? This is crazy." I don't know. I had no idea what this movie. I knew it was like a sci-fi film. I was sort of expecting Tom Cruise on a spaceship or some shit. I don't know. I didn't know what I was expecting, and this really blew me away. I was really interested in the premise, the way the world works, and the look at the technology we get. All looks really good. All the CG looks really good, I think. There's a couple of shots in the car chase like moment that don't hold up for sure. But generally speaking, I think the cityscapes look really good. I think all the all the UI stuff when they're doing the classic Hollywood sci-fi thing when they're moving their fingers around and they have holograms like
Yeah.
moving around. I think it all looks pretty good. It's 20 years ago.
What movie is that like originally? Like, is there a movie that's originally from like that idea of like moving your fingers and like zooming out and in? Because I was thinking when I was watching this, like, do I remember that specific type of thing from this movie? But I mean, I guess it was in like Iron Man and stuff
And
like
Star
that.
Trek and shit.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
that's a great question. Did it originate? You guys would probably be able to answer that better than me, to be honest. I don't know. That intrigues me. If it did originate here, mate, I don't know, but it's cool. They did a good job. I can understand why it's influential, but that's a tiny thing. I think I do really like the way the world looks. It feels like a distinctive, depiction of the future. Not that I think it, holds iconic status like Blade Runner's world, but it felt different, and I enjoyed it for that for sure. All right. So no, I mentioned that I really liked the the first act. The way it looked drew me in. The premise drew me in. To your point, Jaden, the premise is so interesting, and that is definitely what hooked me at first. Just that. I do want to give the film some credit. I think it has, in terms of how it handles its premise. I do think it executes on it in interesting ways. Maybe towards the end I'll lose it a bit, but here in the opening, when we get the way it brings up through dialogue these really interesting philosophical questions that I am forever fascinated by, like the when the first dude is arrested for he's about to kill his wife, and he's like, I wasn't going to do anything. You can just like claim this. I thought that was really cool. And then not long after, we get the really great, I think it's really well written conversation with old mate, what's his name, Colin Farrell, and them all standing around in the little, I don't know, hub room or whatever, and he's like talking about cause and effect, and he's rolling the ball. I thought that's a great scene, and it like sets up for the layman, sets up, and for me, for anyone, sets up the philosophical questions the movie's sort of throwing out there at you really succinctly, and obviously visually representing the ball being rolled and talking about it. I thought in that way the film does do justice to its premise in how it sort of introduces those ideas, I think. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Did you like, you're Colin Farrell's number something fanboy, Jada? Did you like him in the movie?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. That was a surprise. I didn't know who was doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first, I wasn't sure if it was him because I was like, "Is that just someone from 2002 that looks like him?" But then I was like, "No,
He looks so young.
Yeah,
he looks so young.
Looks, unweathered."
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot in the movie too.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great, and I really I like the character that he played as well. And I thought the way they tried to throw him off is like like he was kind of the red herring of the film, that we thought he was going to be the bad guy in the setup or whatever. Felt a bit obvious that it was going to be Max von Sydow, but like I still like that aspect of the film, of that actual like twist.
I'm a bit all over the place with it actually. Max von Sydow is great in the movie. Sydow?
I say Sydow, but I don't know if it's correct.
We'll just go with whatever we want. Because I remembered he passed recently. That sucked, dude. He's great. He's a treasure. I love him in he was great in Shutter Island too. He has great screen presence. But no, I enjoyed him a lot here. In terms of I feel like the movie does the thing. Just jumping into the third act, because why not? The movie does the thing where like I feel like it explains the twist like too many times. Not explains it, but it does the thing of like it puts all the pieces out to you, and I totally understood everything about it 20 minutes before they have the monologue where Tom Cruise explains it in detail, like the walkthrough of it. You know what I mean? We already knew we knew the second he shot Colin Farrell. And then from there, you're like, oh, because I think at that point they'd already introduced the idea of someone committed the murder of Anne twice. So it's like, oh, okay, he shot Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell's just figured this out literally in this moment.
It's the fact that like they emphasize so much that someone would have had to have access to the database, to be able to create this, and like the characters we know, that. What was his name? Lamar? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like one of the only characters that we know that had access at that time, so like it became too obvious. It narrowed it down too much.
It did. There was it sort of went from like, this could be anyone but probably Colin Farrell, to like, oh no, it's just Max von Sydow. You know what I mean? It didn't really narrow it down in an interesting way. And so like I say, he shoots Colin Farrell, got it. Cool. We at that point understand like everything that happened, because like I said, we know the two murders occurred. Colin Farrell says they had to have switched clothes. Okay, cool, we get it. And then the movie does the thing where like 15 minutes later, Tom Cruise's wife is talking to Lamar, and she's like, but I never said she drowned. And then like it's like meant to be another reveal that it was Max von Sydow. Like, oh shit, he did it. And it's like, it's like, yeah, we know this. And then, like, again, 10 minutes later, Tom Cruise is like talking to him weirdly, weird scene, like talking to him in his earpiece, just like, I'm now explaining the plot to you, even though you did it. didn't love the execution of that, but hey, but no, like the idea of Max von Sydow being the villain by itself is fine. All right, Fitzy, we have to continue with the trend of ranking Tom Cruise performances based on reading way too much into his characters and finding things that feel unique to this one. You know what I mean? So we've done this, like, how many times have we had this conversation with, I'm like, wasn't it War of the Worlds or something where I'm like, oh, I can see Tom Cruise doing something different here, and everyone's like, yeah, but it's just Tom Cruise, Zach. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
How did you feel about him in the movie anyway?
Oh, yeah, I really like him in the film. In terms of Tom Cruise being different in the film, I love the little interactions in the film that reveal character. Like, there are little things like Tom Cruise asking the employee at the Precrime lab or whatever, like, are you having contractions or whatever, asking about her pregnancy, and like you can see like in a lot of little interactions that he's a good guy, or like when he asks that guy who was originally part of the team if he has a good grip when he's like fighting them. So like he's someone who cares and looks after people, and he's a really good guy, and yeah, I like those little things, and that kind of happens with Colin Farrell with Wixter as well. Wixler? I don't know.
Whitwell?
Whitlaw, that's it. Where you kind of see that, his whole thing is he's kind of he's coming from justice, from the sense of like anti-corruption, trying to, make the, he's not trying to get rid of justice, he's trying to make it better. Although you could also argue it's just, trying to get Tom Cruise's job or whatever, but yeah, I think the little things in this film are really great, and I think Tom Cruise is great. So yeah.
Can we acknowledge that jetpack scene where he asked if he had a good grip? That was a bad scene, right? That was a bad choreographed fight. It looked bad. It felt bad. It was uninteresting.
Where are we starting and ending with this? Are we for you and your brain here, starting with him being cornered in the alley and ending with him driving off in the car?
Yeah.
That was awful. Absolutely atrocious. It was terrible. The jetpacks like looked weird and was sort of awkward when the shots when he's like the dudes, he's like climbing up the ladder, I think, and the dudes are like floating up, sort of awkwardly hitting him and shit. Like, that was awkward. But it didn't become really terrible until they get into the car factory.
Oh,
no, yeah, for like revenge.
Yeah, it's comedic. Okay, the moment when Tom Cruise gets trapped in the car, and then he like comes up and he's like smiling. Oh, that's such a good moment. It's funny.
I don't know if they.
I don't think it's bad.
I wanted this movie.
It's good.
Yeah, but the whole fight though, like it was trash. It was like Raiders of the Lost Ark light inserted into the middle of this philosophical crime drama. And the score, like John Williams, Steve,
this is so obviously a John Williams score. But
especially there, because like I actually like the score in moments. I like John Williams' scores, so if I can tell it's John Williams' score, that doesn't make it bad by itself. And I do like it in moments when, like, they sort of he uses this recurring like female like vocalization thing, when they go to the flashback scenes. I quite like that, but dude, in that fight though, it was Steven's just like, John, just do your thing, bro. Just do what you do for Indiana Jones all the time. It was garbage, and because it was like so generically obvious, like, all right, I'm John Williams. I guess I'm just making another action set piece, quirky adventure score here, and the scene had. I was thinking about why it felt so weird to watch. Outside of the fact it's just the whole thing is tonally inconsistent with the movie. That's weird enough. But then I was like, what else made that shit weird? And the answer I came up with is that there was no dialogue. There's zero, like, even just little, like, exclamations the characters are making, like Colin Farrell, I don't know, just in these scenes, like, just little snide comments or something, like, or Tom Cruise is like, oh no, or just something, right? There was like 5 minutes where no one said anything. Like, not a word. It was weird. Anyway, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That sucked.
there was that moment where they're like, "Get your 6.6 ready," and I was like, "Oh, a 6 stick? What's that? Is that like a taser from the future?" But then they touch it and it just makes them throw up. It's like, oh, right.
Yeah, that was yeah. That felt very Spielberg. You know,
Yeah.
that was something. But I'm glad you brought that up because honestly, that was, in my opinion, by far the worst part of the movie. No, nothing else goes that low. Like, thank God. Oh yeah, so Tom Cruise. Fitzy had great observations there. I did really like his interactions with the other characters. I didn't think of that though. What I was thinking, like, I liked him as sort of more the quiet moments with him. Like, sort of, I love the scene when he's sitting in his apartment and he's like playing the holograms of his wife and child, and that gave me huge Blade Runner 2049, like, Ryan Gosling when he slept with the woman, but had like what it's what I mean,
Joy.
love, joy. Thank you. Like projected on, gave me that kind of vibes where it just feels like he's trying to have an emotional connection. It just feels really hollow, And I thought that was a really good scene. So him sort of playing the traumatized cop, him having those drug issues. That's sort of what I found in the differences for him. I thought he did a good job with that.
What do you mean? He has withdrawal issues in The Last Samurai.
Oh, he does too.
Mm.
Never mind. It's a trash performance. Hey, this came first though, so maybe I should go and retroactively make The Last Samurai like a 7. Maybe I should.
Or 4 too. Something more appropriate for that kind of film.
Oh. What do you mean, Fitzy? You loved the scene where the ninjas showed up.
Bang.
It was exciting,
yeah. Almost as exciting as the car factory scene here.
Bro, it was funny. I mean, it was Spielberg, John Williams doing their thing. It was good.
No, it wasn't. But that's all right. But no, I could agree with you. Totally, it was them doing their thing. That's 100% true.
I think it's the fact that the jetpack added nothing to the scene either, but there was like a emphasis on it. I mean, like had they removed that, it would have played out the exact same, just without floating people.
I feel like I should have a different name for this in mental trivia, which is trivia that I read but didn't choose to include, and that but now it comes up. It included the fact that Spielberg, they had discussions about if to use jetpacks or not, and he basically just went, "Well, I like jetpacks from the movies I liked as a kid, so we'll throw them in." That's fine. That's fair logic. I can just but I don't. In the scene though, yeah, they're sort of clunky. I think they tried to make them feel realistic and grounded, like, oh, what would a real jetpack look like in 2054? So let's make them sort of awkward looking and like clunky to sort of float upwards, but it just sort of, it didn't really serve as the scene.
Science fiction. I want fiction.
It's true. It's a great point. Let's sort of carry on from that action scene a little bit. I really like how I like the plot generally, except we touched on some the Max von Sydow stuff, but
Sido.
early on,
Sido. I had a look. I had it's a bit more like French in its pronunciation, but I mean, like if you want to anglicize it, it's Sido.
Okay, cool. Anglicize it. That's a great word. Like I mentioned, I think the movie does a great job of introducing us to the world, introducing us to Tom Cruise's character and his traumas. I was not expecting Tom Cruise to be like this thing, to be the fact that he's on the run now because he himself had the red ball was the premeditated one, wasn't it? Or was it brown?
Brown.
Cool. I'm like, oh, interesting. And then it sets up the thread of he kills this person named Crow in 3 days or whatever it was, 2 days. I was in. I was like, oh, this is exciting. So he runs off. He goes to see the creator of Precrime, or like someone who helped create I don't know what she did.
She was experimenting with the precogs.
Right. Okay. And so he learns about here the idea that this is where, again, philosophical stuff really interesting. This idea that people can have alternate futures. It's not a thing of you don't have. It's not necessarily true that you do end up killing Crow in 48 hours. So, and these things are called minority reports that people can have. So you got to go and find out if you have one. And I thought that was cool because it's addressing my idea of the future I've always had mentally of like, if you see your future, That's it. That's your future. You know what I mean? This idea in fiction often that, you see your future and now I just won't do that, or I'll just change it or whatever. Like, I think Tom Cruise directly has a line where he says, well, it says I'm going to kill Crow in 48 hours, so I just won't. I'll just stand here. I'll just sit here for 48 hours. And you know what I mean? And it plays with that idea of like, but no, that's not how it works, bro. You're going to end up there. But maybe you're not if you find the Minority Report. So, like, I like the conflicting ideas here, you know.
But if he was literally to just sit there, then how would he end up there? You know.
But he won't.
But why won't he?
Because he just won't. The future says he won't.
But they can just
looked into the future.
Handcuff him to a desk for 48 hours, and then that's it.
He'll end up there, though. Like, no matter what, he's going to end up there. By that perspective, of course. By that perspective, I'm not saying I don't know, but he just will, because it's like the thing of when you look into your future. If you were to somehow like get the I don't know, the like be able to view it or something, that takes into account that you've like what you're viewing is your future. It takes into account you've seen this already. You know what I mean? It's not like, I'm looking at an alternate reality where it's my future, but I haven't watched it. You know what I mean? It's just the future.
But in the film, it is an alternate reality because
yes,
because every time that the precog see something, the people stop it before it happens. So technically, Jane's right. You could just sit there because in this movie, you can have alternative futures even when the precogs are correct. So
yes. That's what I find so interesting about it. You know, is that it's weighing up, and then ultimately in that does sort of pick a side there. I just find those sort of conversations really interesting. You know, both theories sort of make sense, I guess. So yeah, I was digging the movie. Okay, it started to lose me when we meet these surgeon characters, these eye surgeon characters. You know,
that was old mate from Until Dawn, wasn't it?
The doctor, the psychologist. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I swear it was. Was it not Peter?
Really?
Peter Stormare, whatever his name is.
I don't know. It probably is.
I'll take a pic.
Go and have a squeeze. This is just an example of weird Spielberg humor. That's just I find it cringeworthy. I just find it gross. I just find looking at these characters in this movie that I'm invested in, this world that I'm invested in at this point, and they're like, it's all unhygienic and shit, and they're like, maybe I don't know if I sound weird commenting on this, but and she like gets off the toilet, you know what I mean? It's like, no, like why? What is this in this movie? I don't appreciate this. I also just didn't really appreciate. I mean, I guess it was intentional. I guess it worked. I just hate the movie's focus on eyeballs. I just find it gross. So anyway, back to reviewing the movie. I love the shot because obviously this movie, I do like the movie's focus on eyes in a plot sense, in a story sense. I think, and just in world building sense, because I think there's something really invasive, I think, about thinking about technology that can constantly scan and read your eyes. And Tom Cruise constantly walking around the city and like everything scanning his eyes and identifying him going, hello, John. Like there's something about that that's, I think, very deliberate in how scary and sort of invasive that feels, you know, of just this data existing of we can just scan your eyes and know everything about you, you know? So I do like how it plays with that. And how it's sort of a focus in the world. Like he meets that homeless guy who doesn't have any eyes. And when that happened at first, I was like, what? But it makes a lot of sense. That would probably exist in this world.
What if you just close your eyes while you walk past the scanners? Wear sunglasses.
I can't really argue with that. Like you just expose the movie hard. That's true. You could like forget like the walking around with your eyes closed. Like that's true too. But sunglasses is the main one. Tom Cruise goes to all this effort to get his eyes replaced, which was horrifying. And then but Tom, you can just are sunglasses outlawed in the future? You know? But that guy with no eyes was wearing sunglasses. But to be fair, he's like a drug dealer, so I don't think he gives a shit about the law. You know?
I mean, you could just take, your regular eyeglasses and chuck a 80% tint on them, and then it'd be alright.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so Tom Cruise had his eyes replaced apparently for no reason, and the scene that we get of the spider eye things that scan your eyes. How do you guys feel about this? Does this do these things disturb you? The answer is, of course, no.
It felt a bit Spy Kids, the gadgets, did it not?
That's true. That's great.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like, this is straight out Spy Kids 2, Mystery Island, whatever the fuck it is.
It makes me happy that you thought of that. Did you like the shot that's like this really long one take shot of that's like above the apartment building tracking and following the spiders as they invade every single apartment?
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
I like that shot a lot.
The two people arguing, then they stopped and then let them scan their eyes.
Yeah. I always love shots like that because they take, immense planning, and because it's all one take, immense planning. I mean, they might hide cuts in there, I don't know, but in setting up like the geography of a set and stuff, and like putting the camera above, it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. Gave me Vince Gilligan vibes, if you know what I mean, Fitzy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I
thought, yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about Gilligan's Island or something first.
No, I'm not.
Right.
I don't think I'll ever reference Gilligan's Island on this show ever.
The question is, have you watched it?
I've seen bits of it.
Oh.
Are you impressed by that?
I am.
Cool. So anyway, we end up going to this hotel where John is destined to kill Crow. And it ends up being a setup. Someone's planted all of this here. And by all of this, I mean, something we haven't even brought up yet is the fact that Tom Cruise's son went missing some years ago. And it's set up that this mate Crow did it. Or took him, or, whatever child terrible predator stuff goes on. But it's not true. It's a plan. And we end up, understanding. Oh, but of course, Tom Cruise ends up shooting him anyway. Not exactly how we anticipated, but at that point in the film, it's like, bro, maybe there is some truth to the whole future. Yeah, you're going to end up doing it anyway kind of thing. But
shouldn't the fact that Lamar planned it, shouldn't his name be on the perpetratable? I mean, because
makes no sense.
Because they're talking about it being like premeditated, but I mean, Tom Cruise didn't premeditate this. It was Lamar that he's the one that planned all this shit out. So shouldn't his name be on the ball?
I think you've just exposed plot holes. Fitzy, what were you about to say about this?
Oh well, like the only reason he knows about it is because of the Precrime vision. So it doesn't really. It's kind of a what's it, like the grandfather fallacy kind of paradox, yeah, kind of thing. He never would have started it if it isn't for the thing, but I don't know. It doesn't really, because like how would Lamar know to set it up at that time? Because he would have to.
Yeah, right. I get it. Because Lamar, of course, sets it up to disguise the fact that he killed what's her face, Anne Lively, I think, killed this innocent woman or whatever, who ends up being Agatha's mum. Agatha, a character we haven't mentioned at all, because I don't know if she's much of a character. You know what I mean?
Dude, also bald heads and pools of water and connections and stuff. Like, why can't it just Fonts be like normal? Why are they always submerged in water?
Well, yeah. And why do they? No, the bald head and the head device is a valid. Yeah, is what I'm thinking about. What's up with that?
Why can't they keep their hair? It's like a millimeter of interference. I'm sure it's not that different.
I'd like to think in the future, if I want to tap into some device that reads my mind or collects data from my brain, that I don't have to shave my head to access that. Oh yeah. So anyway, I don't know where I was going, but what do you think about Agatha? I feel like Agatha's just like a nothing. Am I meant to care? Like she's just sort of a human mass that Tom Cruise has to carry around for the third act. Not to sound too dismissive, but I don't really feel for her, because I feel like at the end of the day, for a lot of the twist to work, right, it's this discovery that Max von Sydow killed her mum in order to keep her and continue using her because she's vital to the whole pre-crime prediction method technology working. So, I mean, that makes sense, of course. He wants to make sure that she stays so he can continue building his project and his career. But I feel like to feel something about, oh shit, Agatha's mum was taken away. That's horrible. How dare you, Max? Like I sort of have to care a little bit about Agatha.
Hmm.
Yeah, I also feel that Sidell should have been more explored in terms of like, not in terms of the twist, but just in terms of like why, because he's a character that's willing to do that, to have pre-crime be a thing, but is it like, does he just want that for his personal, gain, power, or whatever, or does he have like the same kind of motivation as Tom Cruise, which is like he had something in his past which is like made him believe that this is kind of what he wants to do. He wants to stop criminals before they do things, even if sometimes it's not true because of the cost of like, But yeah, it's also similar with Colin Farrell because I feel like it's kind of like this anti-corruption thing, but he also doesn't really get explored in terms of his past as well. It's kind of a Tom Cruise affair. So
I didn't think so much about the Colin Farrell part, but yeah.
I was just gonna say there's a bit of whiplash in with the Colin Farrell and the fact that like, we're kind of positioned so hard against him, and then it's like, oh no, here we go, like straight back around without any. We're never shown this other side of him. Really, it's always this opposing force before it just fucking
Yeah, I know. Fitzy, I can't. So I haven't even gone to it yet. I wrote by far the longest note I wrote here. I went on a bit of a text ramble after I watched the movie about the use of Max von Sydow's character and his motivations, and you basically read it. Like, I think the movie focuses far too much on the ego route of it. Like, I don't, in terms of why he's gone to this effort. Yeah, it makes sense. Protect his career. They focus on the fact that he's given his speech about pre-crime and about like he's at the celebration ceremony of it going national, and Tom Cruise focuses on like he says, oh, so what? You wouldn't be able to get all the autographs, and they sort of focus on that aspect of it. He's getting celebrated by his peers. I feel like a much better way to go with this character, other than just businessman wants to protect his ventures, is exactly what you mentioned, is if they dig more into the not philosophical in a understanding universe sense, but philosophical in terms of what his ideologies are. And if they'd gone into the idea of he is so determined to protect pre-crime, not because he wants to protect his career here, but because he is a believer in the philosophy, the idea that the whole phrase mindset, what do people say? Like, it's better that you let 10 guilty people walk free than one innocent person punished or locked up, right? If the movie had honed in on the fact that he's a believer in the opposite, that he believes in pre-crime and is committed to pre-crime because he believes that it is much better to lock away 10 innocent people than let one guilty person go free. And that would, work with the whole alternate futures Minority Reports idea of like, yes, I'm aware, as John has gone on this journey in this movie to uncover the fact that, yes, there are alternate futures, yes, there are Minority Reports, but my motivation throughout this entire movie is to hide the fact that, yes, I know there are Minority Reports. I'm going to disguise that. The possibility that 1% of people that we lock up were never going to do it is not worth the public knowing about, because it'll take down this initiative I've created, which has effectively lowered the crime rate massively in the city and can save millions of lives. You know what I mean? That's a compelling argument. I don't agree with it. And if the public were to find out about it in this world, I'm sure the whole thing would come crashing down, much like it did come crashing down in this movie. But I just don't appreciate I think it can be way more interesting. I think his downfall could have been much more about that and the ideological conflict, and Tom Cruise, because he himself is trying to find his Minority Report, him sort of then being the vessel of fighting for the idea of we can't represent this injustice to people, of, locking away innocent people like this, and have that sort of be the conflict in the climax of the movie, as opposed to just, I really want to grow nationally and you stopped me, That was really
Yeah,
long-winded, I apologise. But I feel like that's what you touched on, and I felt very similarly.
yeah, and like even if they just had a conversation and then like the confrontation at the end, just a couple of minute conversation, it could have been a lot better. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think Sidow as well obviously has like great points if he were to have that motivation, because Precrime works for most individuals. I think like 90% of the time it's correct. So
exactly. It brings up there's a chance there's a Minority Report. But yeah, exactly. He would have a very solid argument. And it sort of just shies away from that. Or I don't know if it's like they choose not to focus on that, or if genuinely, like, if I were to go and talk to the screenwriter, he would sort of not, or he or she, I don't know, I can't remember. I think it was he, wouldn't recognize that idea to play with was sort of right in front of him. You know what I mean? I think that's can happen if you're writing a script. You sort of create this story, and it's not until like a third eye looks at it that you realize if you'd just taken this idea a bit further, it could have been way more interesting, and you sort of don't see it. I don't know, but then that could have also been the ultimate irony of the ending, is the fact that, because in the end, Lamar has a Minority Report. You know what I mean? Like he shoots himself instead of Tom Cruise, right? So, and that could be the thing of like his undying belief in pre-crime, that it's the just thing to do, was unfounded because it was wrong about him. I think that could have been cool, but they sort of,
yeah,
it's hard to critique the movie for something it doesn't do. You know what I mean? But I felt that a bit. We've sort of unintentionally gone chronologically, but shout out to the Agatha lives in a shack at the end.
oh yeah, the ending was bad. Like the last 30 seconds of like
Just zooming out.
everything's okay, like Spielberg happy ending. It was
Ah,
not good.
sure. Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't entirely disagree with that. I do love these Spielberg final shots. I love when he does like there's something about the way certain directors end a film. I'm reading, not to get off track, I'm reading a Nolan book right now. I'm like halfway through it, and he talks about how he chooses to end movies. Sort of, he has like a mini building, like all these movies end with a moment that builds in like the last 30 seconds, and then it just cuts to black, and it's really effective. I think Spielberg has his own way of ending movies too, where he sort of, it's often just a shot that continues, and then the credits just appear. You know what I mean? That's sort of something that we saw it in Munich as well. Didn't happen, of course, in War of the Worlds, where we had the weird Morgan Freeman voiceover, but so it's not a universal rule for him. But I did like the shot of, we get this really long, beautiful shot as the credits go, and it's one continuous thing from the shack. And also outside of that, just visually, it's the first time we see trees in the movie. First time we see sort of nature.
No, we see that at Tom's wife's farm.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. That sort of still feels more contained, though.
We see it when he jumps the wall to that person, when she has a whole greenhouse.
Yeah, I suppose.
And the whole garden as he drives up. And so it's like...
Stop. But I think my point stands, though. Like, you get the... Look, there's still untamed parts of the world we recognise, planet Earth, that we recognise here, like, widely seen. You know what I mean? Outside of just, there's some plants,
Well, I mean, even the murder occurs in like a...
in a lake.
In a lake with like a bunch of trees and shit around.
That looks like the Godfather Part 2's ending. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Oh, I'll forget about it then.
I will.
Final verdicts. To be honest, I don't know what I'm very conflicted about this movie, actually, after this conversation. I already was, but I'm even more so. So, Fitzy, please go first.
7 out of 10. Like I was engaged all the way through, and I think it's a really solid film. I love the tone, the cinematography, as you said. I don't know, Tom Cruise's performance, his running, does a bit of running in the film. And I don't know, yeah, 7 out of 10. It just, in the end, it doesn't all fully culminate, but yeah, it's up there for me, for Spielberg at least, so yeah.
Jaded?
6. I don't know. I was gonna say like a 6.5 would be appropriate, but then Liam said 7. I was like, oh fuck, that's too close to 7. I can't say that. So obviously, it's always going to round down to a 6 because it's just how it is. Can't give half points on the show, but yeah, no, I think I've voiced my opinions. I was probably a bit harsher on it than the score dictates, but yeah,
I'll give it a 6. I think I've got enough. Like, I did like it. I
mean,
I think
6
I've
is
got
still a good score. That's the thing. I think we often
totally.
Yeah, so
Totally. Sometimes when I'm struggling, because at the end of the day, it's funny. I think so much about the score, but I also don't really care. Sometimes when I just like whatever, I just need to decide. I think about it on a thumb scale: thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. I think I've talked about enough here for me to go thumbs middle. Like, I've got enough mixed feelings, where I'm not just like, yeah, man, Minority Report. So I'll go 6. News chat time. A new Batman animated series is coming to HBO Max and Cartoon Network. It is produced by...
I thought there was one going
this
right
is
now.
This is the only interesting part about it, because I feel like there's always the world continues rotating. There's always a new... Yeah, probably. And there's always a Batman show. There's always a Ninja Turtles show, right? These are things that just continue forever. But it is of note because the series is produced by, are you ready? Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, and Bruce Timm, who is the creator of Batman the Animated Series. And this show is a spiritual successor to one of the most beloved cartoons of all time. So that makes it interesting. It is called Batman Caped Crusader. Of course, an incredibly original title. But yeah, I just want to know, do you guys, because this is a big deal because Batman Animated Series is, super influential, and it's sort of getting this successor show with those
it already
names
had
attached.
a successor show, didn't it?
Batman Beyond, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was meant to be like...
That's an actual sequel show. This is more like a spiritual successor show.
Okay.
Sort of, if you want to make the distinction. But yeah, I get you. Do you guys have any experience with Batman the Animated Series? I don't know this.
Yeah, I watched 2 seasons, I think.
Oh, yeah? You enjoy it?
It's alright. It's
sick.
It's a Batman cartoon. I mean,
sure. I mean, it is super highly regarded. I've not seen barely any of it. Maybe is it sort of high, maybe it's highly regarded from a nostalgic point of view. I don't know if it's actually, and I don't know. Maybe it is meant to be influential. It's hard to sort of, from our modern lens, sort of look at that sometimes.
Yeah, I think maybe because it was 97 or 98 when it first aired. Maybe because it took on that bit of a grittier tone that other superhero cartoons at the time didn't have. I don't know.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah. What about you, Fitz? You ever seen it?
No, not really. Besides, like, Saturday cartoons, like, back in the day. Yeah, not really.
But I bet you're, of course, a viewer of Batman the Brave and the Bold.
That's the one where he has the black and red costume, right?
No, that's Batman Beyond.
Oh, okay.
He's got the grey and blue.
Ah, right.
Like a real old school, like 60s.
Brave and the Bold was more our time.
Definitely, yeah. That's why I brought it up. Yeah. I've seen an extensive amount of that. Never loved it, though.
No.
Anyway, that's there for you. Go and check it out. I might check it out, but I sort of feel like I need to actually watch the animated series, which I probably will never do. I don't know. Attack the Block 2. Jen, has it been... You're going to have to fill in all the blanks here for me. Was it just announced?
Yeah. I think it was just an announcement.
Right, so it wasn't like already previously announced and now they're...
No.
Okay.
No. And I'm pretty sure in the announcement it said that Boyega's coming back.
Yeah. No, I did know that. Yeah. Does this excite you? Does the sequel to the first one you liked? Yeah.
Yeah, very, 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 very much excites me. I love the first one, so it's very, very funny. Yeah, it's great. It's way better sci-fi than Minority Report. Yeah, I mean, like I didn't really expect to see because I didn't really know there was much you could do with it. I think the first one kind of ends rather resolutely,
Oh, okay.
unless my memory betrays me. But yeah, no, I'm happy to see a second part of this.
What's it actually about?
It's about aliens attacking a East London block, I think it is,
Oh, that's cool.
and like a block is just like an apartment building, and it's where like Boyega and his boys live, you know.
Sure. Okay. Hope people enjoy that. Would I like it, Jaden? Because you're about to confirm this for me.
Um, how much did you like Edgar Wright's films? Because you were kind of you liked them, but you didn't love them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be similar to that.
I really liked, I don't know. Yeah, I found them enjoyable watches. I think the editing is awesome. Alright, well, that's it for news. Stacked week. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Who should I choose? Or should I just go? I don't know. Jaden, what have you been watching?
Bang! I was locked and loaded this week.
Oh, sweet. I chose right.
Love, Death and Robots. Part 2 came out. You know, the second season of the anthology series on Netflix. And it was okay. You know, it was more of the same of the first season, except with less sex. And like I mean, it has all the problems and all the, you know, pluses of the first season. That like the cool stories. It's great that these people are being able to tell them. You know, some of them are adaptations, some of them are originals. I think, or maybe they're all adaptations. I don't know. But it's just that some of them are really severely harmed by the short form format, and like because like especially one of the big ones that was kind of played up on like a lot in the trailer. Oh, let me just say the trailer for season 2 is fantastic. It's one of the best trailers I've ever seen, and
shit.
like the trailer is better than any individual episode of the series. But it's like one of the main episodes is the Pop Squad is like it's so obviously Blade Runner influence in its aesthetic. But then, like, there's also these class ideals that, you know, look like they're plucked from, like, Altered Carbon, and there's, like, you know, this non-aging thing, and this kind of, you can feel all the influences of everything else, and that's where it kind of harms it, because it's in the short form, so it just feels like it's picking and choosing, like, from the best aspects, whereas had it been this, you know, full-length movie, those influences would have been more smoothed out, and it would have felt more original in its take, and it would have been a lot better, whereas this feels like it's just too much crammed into one, you know, although it's still decent. I think some of the episodes, the art style varies. And like some of them look really, really amazing. Like Ice, I think it was called. I don't know. And like it's yeah, I don't know. I think the shows are worth a watch overall, but I think it's overrated in how much people praise it, especially like as revolutionary or visionary. But I think it's still a decent watch.
Okay. How long are the episodes? Do they vary or?
These ones were all between 12 and 17 minutes, I think.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I think the first season had a bit more variance. I think there was a few shorter ones, a few longer ones.
Okay.
But these ones were a bit more uniform.
And how many episodes?
This season's only 8, which is half of the first season.
Oh, okay.
Or was it 9? I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. Tell me about what you watched.
Well, I'm going to break the rules again this week because I kind of want to mention two things. I was going to talk about this new show.
Sorry, you can't do that. Sorry.
Oh, shit.
No, you can't. It's fine. Go.
The first one was my dad started watching this, and then my mom started watching this, and now I'm watching this. There's this new HBO show. It's called Mayor of Easttown. It's Kate Winslet, and she's like this it's like this murder mystery kind of thing. Yeah, she's a small town detective, I guess, which kind of sounds, you know, cliche or whatever, but it's just it's weekly episodes. There's 5 so far out of 7, I think. They come on Mondays on Foxtel. It's pretty much just a character study of her. Every episode kind of tells you a bit more about her, kind of peels back her past a bit, and I think it is Quicksilver in X-Men. That guy, you know, the guy with that scene where he's like running, like
Yeah,
slow motion scenes.
Evan Peters.
Yeah, Evan Peters.
Is
Yeah.
that his
Oh,
name?
sure.
Yeah.
And he plays like the other detective guy who's like coming to town to solve this thing, and it's like you really get to know everyone in the town, and it's kind of everyone's kind of friends or related, and I don't know, it's written really great. It's a great show. So yeah, check it out if you want to. But yeah,
But don't if you don't. Is Geelong's own Guy Pearce the mayor of this town?
oh yeah, he's in it. He's not the mayor.
Oh, okay.
Mayor is the name, by the way. Mare.
Doesn't that mean horse? Or isn't
Doesn't
it
it?
like a female horse? Isn't a mare
Oh
like a
yeah,
type of horse?
yeah. I think it is the type
Wait,
of animal.
So what's it mean here?
It's Kate Winslet's name. That's her name. Yeah, yeah. But she's great in it. She's
Tell us about your second show or movie.
Second movie. Second thing, Vertigo, which I watched yesterday. I've been meaning to watch for a while. I guess. I have the full Blu-ray collection of his films. So yeah, it's kind of one of those classics I've been meaning to get to. Rear Window and Psycho are really great, but yeah, I guess this was really like the Hitchcock that was for me or whatever, that I really enjoyed. It balances like really just great like suspense, entertainment, kind of plotting, and then kind of thematic elements and like symbolism like really well. It's just kind of a good detective story, but also kind of a movie about like I guess obsession and desire and that kind of thing. And the way the movie looks is just really amazing. It's like it's very colorful, and it's also kind of the colors in the film are very intentional. Like sometimes green means a specific thing in the film, or red means a specific thing, and that kind of symbolism kind of develops in a very interesting way. And kind of the plot in general is just the way it develops is very intriguing, and it's kind of like the whole film is this kind of dreamlike trance kind of thing. So I don't know, it's a really amazing film. It's kind of hard to describe the experience by the end, because the movie like really shifts and pulls you different ways. So I don't know if I would watch it first though. If I'd watch Hitchcock, I think check out Psycho or Rear Window first. But
I think Psycho should be everyone's first Hitchcock.
yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right, very good, very good. I watched The Woman in the Window. It's a new Netflix movie.
Oh yes, let's hear about it. I'm ready.
It's utter garbage, dude. It's trash. Please don't. I'll give it this, right. The movie never bored me once. I was never once bored. I was there. Hey, like, I think it deserves points for that, to be fair. Like, I was engaged the entire time. In my opinion, there's nothing worse than an utterly boring film. So I'll give it that. Not even tempted to check my phone. So, like, it's honestly more engaging than films I think are much better. So that's something. But that's the only compliment I can give it. It's garbage. And it's only garbage, like, by the time you get to the third act, by the way. Like, it sets up these ideas. I know it's based on a novel. It sets up these different plot threads about what's going on with this woman, and
is she in the
Amy
window?
Adams' character. She is in the window, yeah, indeed. She's contained to her home. I won't spoil the movie, but I also won't go as spoiler free as I normally do. I don't think, because don't watch it. But, or actually, maybe you do if you want to laugh. So she's contained to her home after a traumatic event in her past, and she witnesses a crime that takes place over the road in the other neighboring home. And it's basically her dealing with the psychological issues to solve the crime, right? It ranges from cliche to interesting. Like, I think it's well shot. It's interesting and intriguing, and then it goes back to cliche so many times. It's not interesting by the end. I can't believe, and I was actually thinking of this right after I finished it. I can't believe this cast is stacked. I can't believe these people sign up to this movie, and I just couldn't fathom that. But I read in the trivia that it underwent extensive reshoots, and I'm like, I get it. They all signed on to a different movie because they didn't. There's no way Gary Oldman signed on to this movie as is the finished product if that were the first script that he read. No chance. And I mean, that's interesting. The cast is insane, as I mentioned. You got Amy Adams, Julianne Moore, Anthony Mackie, Wyatt Russell, which is ironic with Anthony Mackie. Gary Oldman does the thing in this movie where, and I compliment this about him a lot, where he like transforms into roles and you can't tell it's Gary Oldman, and it surprises you that it's Gary Oldman. In this movie, he has like quite extensive makeup and hair and stuff. So it's that Sirius Black thing again where I'm like, oh shit, that's Gary Oldman. Except he has 4 minutes screen time and his character does absolutely nothing. So it's really obvious that he was obviously meant to have a bigger role, because there's no way you hire Gary Oldman and give him this look and do nothing like with his character. It's utterly insane. I can't talk about what makes it so garbage without spoiling it like entirely, because at the end of the day, it's the story and its ultimate resolution. Again, good hooking you. The story's ultimate resolution, which is utter trash. I ask, I asked my parents. We all watched it. I was laughing hysterically for 1 minute during the climactic scene, which was clearly reshot. Like there's a final battle in whatever. There's a final climactic scene, and it's utterly hilarious. Yes, exactly. There's a final confrontation between two characters. It is utterly hilarious. The movie completely turned into archetype, the ultimate epitome of the archetype of a B slasher horror movie, like that you'd rent at Blockbuster, when the rest of the movie was not that whatsoever and not trying to be that. It's so clearly reshot, and the story resolution of it is so clearly like, oh yeah, that's the answer, that, and let's have a weird, terribly shot action set piece. I think I covered it. It's garbage. If you want to have a good, if you want to watch a movie where you're going to be like, and to be fair, maybe me, like, if telling you this probably isn't the same experience, but for me, I didn't know anything about anyone's opinion on it, so I was like, if you want to watch something that's like, for an hour, you're invested, you're interested, and then it turns to utter shit, and that you can laugh at, that's sort of entertaining, maybe, for you, so check it out.
I'm still going to check it out.
Still going to watch it?
Seeing your score, I was like, oh, fuck, this discouraged me a bit, but I'm still going to watch it. I can't wait to, like, pop an 8 on that.
You're not. But how do I even say this, actually? Don't watch it. But if you do, I can't wait for you to watch it. I can't wait to talk about it with you, man. As always, now we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is your favourite live-action hybrid animated film? Andy said, Sonic the Hedgehog is the only animated live-action hybrid film I remember watching. I've grown up too fast as a beginner cinephile. I actually, when I was doing research for this, I actually seen more than I thought. I'm like, oh yeah, that counts, I guess. And oh yeah, like, which I wasn't expecting. But so maybe that's true for you, Andy, but I don't know. Luke said, Looney Tunes back in action, cinema masterpiece, should definitely be a consideration for the 60th episode of Cinema Effect. Enough said. Well, sorry, Luke, we've already got next week book. We book in advance, Luke, here. If you want to get a suggestion in, maybe we'll get you in, fit you in there at episode 67 or something, but sorry about that. Fitzy, is Luke's answer your answer?
Yes, it is. Yeah, thanks, Luke, for giving me the answer, because I didn't know if I'd find something if it wasn't for that.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I've already talked about it, but Looney Tunes back in action is just great gags and funny, and Brendan Fraser's good. So yeah, that's
Very
it.
good. My answer is Alvin and the Chipmunks 3 Chipwrecked.
I love that film.
I actually have seen that movie. I was trying to think, have I seen it? Did I see it in the theatre? I don't think so. I saw the Squeakquel in the theatre for sure. For sure. And I've seen the first one like probably 10 times, which is, I don't know if I want to admit that on this podcast, but I did. No, my answer is Christopher Robin. I thought about it. We all know my my weird love that I also can't really explain, other than I find it really charming, for Winnie the Pooh. I think it's great. I think all the supporting characters and cast are great in that lore, in that universe of Winnie the Pooh. And I think Christopher Robin like takes all that I sort of inherently like and find charming, because you got the same vocal performances that I love. And then you sort of include that with this Ewan McGregor, like somewhat generic, like, you know, trying to be a better father character story. And that actually does feel quite mature in a lot of ways, and you sort of blend those two things for a movie I really liked. So, and the CG, like the art style is really good. Like to actually include like a CG version of Winnie the Pooh and all those characters, because you know we used to see them in 2D, but like a 3D like live action version of them, they actually look really cool, and I think it's probably the best like artistic direction they could have taken for that idea. Jaden, what's your answer?
I completely forgot, and I had to look through movies now. What were some of your other ones that surprised you that counted? Just so I can hear some before I say one that I think might count, but I'm not sure. Because what else did you
Now
have?
I've forgotten.
Yeah,
Um,
epic.
So, but Alvin and the Chipmunks was the joke one, obviously, but it was things like that though. That was like, oh yeah, like mid 2000s movies, like, oh well, yeah, we said Hop last week. Things like that though, in that vein, that are like CG animal characters.
I mean, Paddington counts, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Then it's absolutely
Easy.
without a doubt Paddington. Yeah, no, like
Nice.
it's genuinely like one of the best kids movies ever. I mean, like it's like there's nothing wrong with Paddington. It's just brilliant. I mean, like if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, watch it again. It's it's genuinely like one of the best movies of all time. I mean, like
the first one or second one?
both. I mean, they're both great. They're
you got to choose.
Movies. I mean, right. I have to personally, I don't know, first one, I guess.
Sure.
To most of the charm lays, I guess. You know, second one, yeah. Second one's still
Second
brilliant.
one's a soulless sequel.
Yeah. I mean, they're both brilliant. I mean, Metacritic 100 on the first one, whatever it is. But, you know,
is that true?
I'm pretty sure it's true.
What?
Oh, on the second one. Yeah.
Is it the second one or the first one?
Second one, I think.
What?
All right, Paddington 2 is a 88 on Metacritic.
Yeah, it is.
And apparently the first one's a 77. Apparently.
All right.
I swear it was 100.
Yeah. One of them.
I saw a news.
You're not thinking of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Is it?
Are you getting them mixed up? Is that?
I think it was Metacritic.
Yeah, I thought it was Metacritic because it was when that like old negative review of Citizen Kane popped up.
Yeah, Citizen Kane. Yeah.
Paddington became like the best reviewed movie on Metacritic, like a straight 100.
I believe it. The fact that you both thought that's quite odd.
Yeah.
There must be something to it. There's something to it.
Yeah, best movie of that without a doubt. Best movie of all time, possibly.
Oh, it's Rotten Tomatoes, I think, because Citizen Kane's 99%, Paddington 2 is 100%.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So Citizen Kane, so that means what? One or two critics gave it the thumbs down on Citizen Kane.
One, and it was like one that only recently popped up. But like
right.
it was an old review that became like official, like now.
Was recognised. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Fitzy, what are we watching next week?
We're finishing Jason Bourne with Jason Bourne, so
it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Has it been 5 months, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Definitely the longest one we've done. I like doing these longer ones though. I feel like we're invested in this franchise for a long time, but it's cool. We'll get hyped. Paul Greengrass is back, my man. Can he deliver?
Oh, is he? Oh.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone else for listening. Have a great rest of your week and goodbye.